Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Daily BizLink featuring Jane Cebrynski. And today we're talking about the F word. So Jane, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Lindsay. Thanks for having me. All right. So before we talk about the F word, give me a 10 moment.
My 10 moment, just kind of continuing and building off of some of the other work that I've been doing, but I just get energized by connecting more people with resources. And so I've been able to have more of that back in my life. Now that things are opening up again in the world, spending some more time on those coffee meetings or those lunch meetings. I have one of those lunch meetings today, actually. So those are 10 moments for me. So nothing really specific this week, but just kind of getting more of those 10 moments or feelings back into my daily work calendar. So pretty excited about that.
I love that because, what we're discovering more and more is just the importance of that human to human connection. And Zoom doesn't cut it. It's been a great tool, a great resource. I think it absolutely serves a purpose, but there is nothing like that human to human connection. So go you.
Thank you. Well, I'm eager to talk a little bit more about this scandalous topic, the F word, Jane. What are we talking about?
I know we are talking about failure. I hate that word. It's just needs to be taken out of our vocabulary, mainly because, what I have experienced myself and what's shown up a lot this week is just how we define it and what it does to us. And I think it's so important that we redefine and we relook at failure and what it means.
So what are your ideas on how we should, reposition that within our thought process?
Well, I think about, it depends on your definition of failure, right? And that can come from your familial beliefs, religious beliefs, society, or just kind of your own personal experiences. And it really can take you out of the game of life. And I think what is important to me, and I had to learn this myself, and it's something that I have to practice on a regular basis because, of course, it's easy for me to fall into that failure trap as well. But what it does is it really imprisons us a lot of times. And what I've seen and experienced with a lot of high achievers is the idea of failure, the fear of failure can really hold us back. And it keeps us from living a fulfilled life. It keeps us from going for things that we really want. It keeps us from really moving forward. And so if we can redefine it in a way that allows us to keep moving forward, that's what I think is important.
I completely agree. I know I personally struggled with this in the past because I'm a type A personality. I used to be kind of more of a perfectionist. Don't get me wrong. I still like things to be in order and things to be prepared in a certain way. But I realized that was limiting me within my personal and professional life. So I started asking myself the question, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? And I often found, well, it can't be that bad. The results can't be that bad if I do move forward. And so once I started just eliminating that mindset, wow, lots of great things came from it. And they were learning experiences. It didn't necessarily get delivered perfectly, but they were still okay. And they still made a large impact. So hopefully that provides some inspiration.
Yeah. And I love that because also I think, as we coach in sports gives us such a beautiful model of what that looks like. And it's funny to me because we don't consider what they do failure. But if you look up the definition of failure, it means the inability to not perform or get a result or the outcome that you were looking for. Well, then, in sports, we see it every play. Somebody's made a mistake or something hasn't happened. And so if we look at that as failure, from that standpoint, yet they get back up and they keep going and they keep going. And it's an opportunity, as you said, to learn and to grow. And I think about okay, well, we wouldn't be with the vaccine that we have today if there weren't some failed experiments. And I think that's the difference too, is that just because we may have failed at something doesn't make us a failure. And I saw this acronym this week, ironically, on the definition of fail, which was first attempt in learning. And I think that that's really valuable. And we don't define failure. In fact, what we say is that if you are going for something there is no such thing as failure because you're going for something. So you can't even, Michael Jordan will talk about how he missed 1,500, baskets before making 5 good ones. And if he looked at every single one of those as I'm a failure, he wouldn't have gone for the next shot. But you don't even know that it's going to be a missed shot until you go for it. So that's what I think is really, really important, is that if we can just look at everything that if we're going for something and maybe it doesn't turn out the way we had hoped, or maybe it doesn't get the result that we were looking for, it doesn't mean that we have failed, because we were going for something. And that's something more than what we were doing before. We were going for something.
So Jane, what would your challenge of the week be for our listeners?
Well, so number one, think about failure as first attempt in learning, recognizing that you can fail forward. So in that learning and in that growth, and I've created my own acronym that I anchor in, which is, what did I write it down? I should know it by heart. For all I've learned, unpacking real experiences. So I've got lots of failures out there. And when I can unpack them for the lessons learned and, how it's helped me to be the person that I am today, then, bring on failure.
So Jane, as we'd like to wrap up today's conversation, is there anything else that you'd like to leave our audience with?
Yeah, don't let the fear of failure hold you back and keep you from going for what you want and going for that 10 life. Embrace the failure as an attempt in learning.
Jane, I appreciate you being here.
Thanks.